Hello YouTubers. In this video we're going to be covering changing out the front tie rods, both inner and outer, along with the boots on my 2008 BMW X5. So why are we here and why are we starting this project? Well, we just completed the strut bushings on the front of the car and put everything back into place, and I went and took the car to get an alignment just to make sure everything was fine. If you recall in that video, I said it drove straight, steering was straight, and that's true, but at the same time I just wanted to have peace of mind that the car was indeed tracking true. And so they started the job and were able to complete the back, get the car all aligned up on the four-wheel alignment, got the back done, and when they went to do the front, the tie rods are frozen, seized. They could not get it to move, so they applied a torch to it to see if that would make a difference, and it did not move. So versus breaking it on site and leaving it with them, I brought it home and I have ordered replacement parts. So this is from FCPEuro, both passenger and driver side, and along with the new boots. So this is going to be a bit different video in that I'm not concerned about saving the boots on this car. I'm going to be able to drop the outside and unscrew the inside as one complete unit and pull it out and put that in its place. Now, many people in these videos, they're trying to save something, so they take one side apart from the other side, and that's not going to be this video. This video, I hope, is a bit easier. So let's jump into it. We'll cover the tools next. So this is what you'll need: some grease. We want to prevent the seizing from happening again, so put some grease on the tie rod end threads. That'll do that. You'll need a panel tool remover because there are clips in the areas that you're going to need to remove. That's what that's for. You'll need a 8mm. That's also used to get some of the bolts out in this area that hold the panels in. You'll see that in a minute. You have a 5/16 and a 5/16 inch wrench, and that is for the hose clamp that I ended up buying, which you'll see in the video. And then a 10mm, again, that's for stuff under the car. 1/4 inch ratchet, an extension to make life a little easier, a pick. The pick was used so that I could get in to break loose or begin to break loose the existing hose clamp on there because it's a squeeze type. You'll see it. It took this tool to put it back on. So you'll see it. This kind of gave me some leverage to then apply a flat blade in there, and that popped the clamp loose. Phillips head is for the bolts under here to get the front panel out. Again, that was just so I can make life a little easier for me. I like to take the panels out. 13/16, that is for this guy right here, the tie rod end tool remover. Then we have a 1/4 inch ratchet, a 27mm, which is going to be used to break loose the tie rod end nut. You got the 1 inch again for this guy right here, just for a ratchet. Pry bar, I use that for this to break loose the tie rod end on that side. It was necessary. And then I used a 12-inch Craftsman adjustable wrench, and that was to break loose the inner tie rod from the steering rack. And then a channel lock pliers to get a spring clamp off. And then again, this clamping tool for the hose clamp, for the hose clamp. Again, that's what you'll use to squeeze it back in and tighten it back down. These are the tools. Oh, almost forgot. I would get a measuring tape because you're going to need to kind of get this thing eyeballed as close as you can so that you can get it to the alignment shop. You'll see where we take the measurement points for that. And a flashlight. This is everything I found to be necessary for the job. It's unfortunate that I use that many tools, but it took what it took for me. Okay, the vehicle's up on jack stands, ready to go. Here's the parts we're going to be replacing right here, all the way through to the other side, on the other side of this boot. So the first thing I'm gonna wanna do is remove this plastic here, probably this under tray here, and then we can see what's past there. So let's get the plastics down. So this is the splash panel removed. Got it unscrewed. Here are the 4 screws, 4 places. Every other place has the screws still in it. So that's removed. Started removing some of the splash shield down here. Screw was here, 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 and underneath here. And so the next set of things are some pins. So I'm going to work and get the pins out, and that should remove this whole panel here, which gives me a good line of sight to the tie rod up in there. All right, we continue. All right, YouTubers. So the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to cut that clasp off, and that will allow me to move the boot back. Then we'll squeeze this thing in, this clasp in, and we'll pull the boot down, and then that'll reveal the bolt holding this to the steering rack. I know this is tough to see, and it's even tougher for me to see and to reach. But if you can see that piece of metal sticking out from the band, that is the clasp that we've got to undo. All I'm going to do is take a screwdriver, pry it underneath that piece of metal. It's going around this band. You can see the stainless steel band right there at the bottom. And I'm going to pry it outward so that it pops loose. So there it is, pry it out just a little bit more so that you can see what it is I'm doing. So there it is where I was prying. All I did was stick my screwdriver underneath here, and it popped loose. And I brought the boot down, and there's our bolt right there. We're going to be replacing that and this piece here. So I think the next thing I want to do is to get my ball tie rod splitter, which I showed you earlier. I'll get that in here. Let me undo this bolt, get the tie rod splitter, and we'll break this apart. I got a 1/2-inch ratchet, and just going to finish breaking it loose. It's pretty loose already. That's all it took, just a little bit of torque from me. And there's your bolt, the 27mm. It's out. Now we're gonna drop this. Then we should be able to unscrew that guy. I have a large adjustable wrench that we're gonna put on that. Hopefully that'll work it. I'm praying that it will. And then that would drop this whole assembly. So I took my adjustable wrench, which is a 12-inch adjustable wrench, and broke this loose, so it's loose just fine. I'm finished unscrewing that. Now I said I was going to use the ball joint remover next, but actually I'm going to get this side here undone first, then I'll break this side loose and drop the whole assembly. So far, so good. I'm sure I'll eat these words later, but so I'm about to insert the ball joint removal tool or tie rod removal tool. One thing to note, there are 2 settings on this thing, top hole, bottom hole. That allows you to get different leverage on the system. So I needed to adjust mine. Mine was in the bottom and it wouldn't reach. It only went to here. Moving it to the top pivot point allowed it to reach the whole way. So we're about to insert this in, torque this down with a 1-inch ratchet drive, and that should break the ball joint or tie rod loose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a measurement from here to the outer edge. I'm going to take the measurement from here to the outer edge of this one and put it on this one. So the next thing I'm going to do after I get that number is I'm going to take this apart, put the new boot on, get the new clasp on, the O-ring, spring clamp, spring clamp on there, get that ready, put this in the vise and tighten it down as best I can, as close as I can to what that number there is. It's just going to be a trial and error. I'm just going to get it close, because what I don't want is for this thing to, I've already got it too tight. I don't want this thing to get to where it's loose in here. This is just a sleeve that clamps down as you tighten the bolt onto here. Clamps down onto that, keeping it in place. I don't want to put too much pressure on it here. I'd rather get it close and tight enough to get it to the alignment shop, which is a couple of miles away. So let's get this disassembled. Okay, so I got some grease on this. I'm sliding it through the tube. Comes out the tube. Now I will put on the clamp just to get it in there. Then the nut. Goes this way. You can see it's chamfered or whatever. Now we're going to start that and screw that back on. Anyway, tough to do it one-handed. What I've learned is that by the time you get this into the car, staged and ready, you're not going to be able to get the measurement anymore from the end to here. So your best bet is to get it from here. See the ridge? From here to here. As that, you still have access to right here. So that's my recommendation. Right now I am within a 1/16 of an inch of the two. I say it's close enough to get it to the shop. So everything's in position. To tighten that clasp down, it's going to take a tool like this. It's meant to tighten. It's going to squeeze that thing together, and that should be it. Okay, YouTubers. So you know this car has active suspension, active whatever, everything else. Look at that clamp there. Anyway, there it is right there. Oh my goodness. There's no way to get that on and tighten with that clamp. This guy. No way that's gonna happen. So I just went to O'Reilly's and picked this up. It is probably not ideal, but I would at least be able to get a 1/4 inch ratchet somewhere maybe on the bottom side to tighten that bolt up, to tighten that clamp up. But that right there, even if you put it on the back side, look at the gizmos and stuff back here. It's not gonna happen. Okay, this side is out. Clamp was a bit of a pickle, but it came out. And the tie rod tool came in real handy, because this side did not want to break loose easy. The other side broke loose real easy, but this one required some extra effort. So let's get some measurements and start putting the other one together. Okay, so the measurement on this one appears to be just a tad over, not even a 1/16 over 3. So we will go with 3. Okay, so that's how it's got to be. Right there is all snugged up. Everything's back together for that part. Now I've got this set to 3 inches, which is what it wanted to be, which is what the other one was. And now I've just got to tighten this nut. So inside of here is a hex key. I'll put the posting, well, you'll know what it is by the time you see the video, because I'll have told you what tools to use. So you'll need a hex key to hold that in place while you tighten the nut, and you should be good to go. Job is done. Everything's back down on the ground. tomorrow I will take it in and get an alignment, and I'll show you the before and after so you can see how bad this was or how close I was. We'll see. Next morning, and here we go. Hope for the best. So far it's not come apart. Motoring right along, going straight, steering wheel straight. Hell, I might be a damn alignment technician. Turn into the place. Here's where we landed. This is the front. Can you believe it? I was in green at all. Right now he's doing the back, which is why you're seeing some of the numbers move. But he has not touched the front. That's how I brought it in. Not too bad. Job is done. Car is ready. Everything came back great. So the job we did was fine, except the guy did tell me that the tie rod bolts at the knuckle were not tightened all the way. So I had failed on that point. So, but I could only get it to go so tight on my socket before it would walk off. I mean, meaning it would just lift off of the thing. It wouldn't go any tighter. It's like I could only get it to go that so tight, and then it would just come off the end of the bolt. But he had a air gun and was able to tighten it on down. So other than that, that was the only issue that came out of it, other than it just needed an alignment, and it wasn't too awful bad. So job done. YouTubers, if you like the video, like the video.